Questions 13, 14, and 15 are kind of interesting because we're still factoring out the greatest common factor, but the greatest common factor is actually a binomial in these. So I kind of want to look back at another problem first before we attempt this one. So let's say our problem was 7yx minus 3x instead. And we're asked to find the GCF and factor out the GCF. So I can't factor out any numbers because there's no numbers common between 7 and 3. There's no number that divides in evenly into 7 and 3. So what I need to do is I need to factor out the variables if I can. And I can't factor out a y because the second one doesn't have any y's. But I can factor out an x because an x is common to both of these. So an x is common. Again, this is what we were doing on the previous questions. So the GCF, we write that once off to the side here. And then on the parentheses, or in the parentheses, we write what's left over after we take out that x. And then this would be our answer. So I just kind of want to use color with stuff we've already done and kind of link it to what we're doing here. So technically my two terms are this and this. And what they have in common is actually this binomial y minus 9. So they both have a y minus 9. That's what's common to these two terms. That is actually the GCF of these two terms. So I want to factor out the y minus 9, and if you take out the y minus 9 out of these two terms, then in this first term, if you take out the y minus 9, you have the x left over. If you take out the y minus 9 in this term, you have the minus 5 left over. And then that would be your final answer. Again, you don't need to use the different colors, but it's going to be y minus 9 and x minus 5. So similar but different. It looks different when it's a binomial, but the process is actually the same. So for 14, these are my two terms. And you'll notice that they both have an x plus y that's common to them. One thing that I'm going to put in here that's going to kind of help is there's an implied 1 here. So again, these are my two terms. And what is common to these two terms? They both have an x plus y. So then in parentheses, the first term, if you take out that x plus y, what do we have left over? We have the 7x left over. In the second term, if you take out x plus y, you have a minus 1 that's left over. And that would be your answer. So kind of another way that people like to think about this is whatever you see in the parentheses, like the y minus 9 here and the x plus y here, you just write that once off to the side, so like here and here. So just write that once off to the side, and then whatever's not in parentheses, that combines to become your second one. So the 7x and the minus 1, the stuff that's not in parentheses just combines to become your second one. So whatever's in parentheses, write that once. Whatever's not in parentheses, combine that to be your second one. So with 15, 15 looks a little bit different because I don't see another parentheses there. But I do see that they both are 5x minus 1. So I can actually put my own parentheses here. And, kind of like the other one, put my own implied 1 here. So when I actually factor this, it's the 5x minus 1 that's common to both of them, or what's in parentheses. I'm going to write that once. And then what's not in parentheses, so the 6x squared and the plus 1, that combines to become your other factor. So that would be your final answer.